they came in silence. Iran's top nuclear minds, deeply tied to a weapons program they claim no longer exists, granted access to Russia's most secretive labs. What did Moscow show them? And what does it mean for the balance of power? This is the nuclear axis taking shape, in plain sight. A group of Iranian officials, including nuclear scientists linked to a sanctioned military research organization, traveled to Russia last year to tour facilities involved in developing dual-use technologies, the Financial Times has reported. The covert visit, according to the paper, has raised red flags among Western intelligence agencies. FT reported that group, which included 5 members, was closely tied to Tehran's controversial Defense Innovation Unit, known as SPND, widely believed to be the successor to Iran's pre-2004 nuclear weapons program. Led by nuclear physicist Ali Calvand, a senior figure within SPND, the delegation visited 2 facilities, TechnoExpert and the Tori Research Center. Both institutions are known for developing dual-use technologies, including electron accelerators and klystrons, components central to flash X-ray systems used in nuclear test simulations. These systems allow scientists to evaluate the implosion mechanics of a nuclear device without actual detonation. The Iranian team included Soroush Mohtashami, a physicist specializing in neutron generators, critical for initiating nuclear chain reactions. His academic advisor, Feridun Abbasi Davani, once sanctioned by the UN for nuclear weapons work, was killed in an Israeli airstrike on SPND headquarters in June 2025. Also on the mission was an officer from Iran's military counterintelligence service and representatives from VERTEX, a company sanctioned by the US for procuring parts for Iran's nuclear apparatus. Documents reviewed by the FT, including travel records, internal memos, and corporate filings, indicate the trip was not just an academic exchange, but that the Russian visits were arranged under the auspices of Oleg Maslennikov, a Russian scientist whose firms work in space communications and nuclear technology. Given the sensitive nature of the sites, the Iranian delegation's access would have required approval from Russian security services. In May 2024, VERTEX reportedly sought to acquire radioactive isotopes, specifically tritium, from a Russian supplier. While there's no confirmation the materials were delivered, tritium's military application as a fusion booster in nuclear warheads has intensified Western scrutiny. Though Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, formally halted nuclear weapons development in 2003, analysts believe Tehran continues to expand its breakout capability, maintaining the knowledge and infrastructure to build a bomb should the political decision be made. The August visit underscores what intelligence officials see as a growing Iran-Russia scientific nexus, with deepening military and nuclear cooperation that threatens to undermine non-proliferation norms. One proliferation expert, Pranay Vadi, who until January 2025 served as Senior Director for Nuclear Non-Proliferation at the US National Security Council, told the Financial Times,
"It is troubling that people of this kind can have these kinds of meetings in Russia, given the situation that Russia and Iran are in. Regardless of whether the Russians share components or technology, the SPND is an organization that would use them specifically to build nuclear weapons."
VERTEX's role, though ostensibly a cultural scientific consulting firm, appears to be a front for sensitive defense activities. Its chairman, physicist Ali Bakoui, leads Tehran's Tabiat Madaris University's Atomic and Molecular Physics Department and has long-standing ties with Russian institutions. Notably, VERTEX director Lala Hezmati, Calvin's wife, also chairs MKS International, sanctioned by the US for supplying ballistic missile technology to Iran's defense ministry. During their 4-day stay in Moscow, the delegation's visits included TechnoExpert, owned by Maslennikov, based at the Rostec subsidiary Polius, which itself was sanctioned by the US for missile technology transfers, and the Tori Research Facility. Court documents link Maslenikov's businesses to the Russian Defense Ministry's 18th Central Scientific Research Institute under GRU military intelligence. the full extent of what Iran's delegation sought in Russia remains unclear. While some officials argue the visit may have had legitimate scientific motives, former NATO Arms Control Chief William Alberg has warned that, in the wrong hands, tritium could significantly shorten the timeline for a nuclear breakout.
In large quantities, it is a key ingredient in the creation of modern nuclear warheads, as it allows for a huge boost in the explosive power of the device.
Despite recurrent Israeli strikes on SPND-linked facilities and personnel, experts stress that the fundamental capacity and institutional knowledge within Iran's nuclear infrastructure remain robust. Nicole Grajewski of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace observes,
Israel can't totally destroy Iran's nuclear program because Iran has built a system designed to outlast individual scientists.
Iran continues to deny any nuclear weapons ambitions, citing religious prohibitions and asserting peaceful intent, while both the Kremlin and the Iranian government declined comment on the FT's findings. This secretive mission, however, points to the enduring complexity and volatility of the nuclear proliferation challenge in a shifting geopolitical landscape. Meanwhile, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has sought access to a leaked UK government list naming nearly 24,000 Afghan nationals, many of them intelligence assets and special forces linked to Britain's military presence in Afghanistan, a report by the Telegraph has claimed. According to the report quoting Iranian officials, the IRGC formally requested the so-called kill list from the Taliban in hopes of identifying and hunting down MI6-linked operatives. A senior Iranian official in Tehran confirmed to the newspaper that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, had officially asked the Taliban government to hand over the leaked list.
On the Iranian side, there are also efforts to find the list, with a special committee assigned for it. There have been discussions on cooperation between Tehran and Kabul on this issue, as it can help both countries for negotiations with the West.
Tehran reportedly sees the names as potential bargaining chips in upcoming nuclear negotiations with the West. A special committee was formed within the regime to obtain the data, which has already led to at least one Afghan being deported from Iran to Kabul. Meanwhile, Taliban officials in the Afghan capital have been instructed to arrest individuals on the list to exert diplomatic pressure on the UK. The breach itself dates back to February 2022, when a Royal Marine mistakenly emailed the classified list containing names of Afghan soldiers and families who had collaborated with UK forces to contacts in Britain. The leak exposed not just local allies but covert operatives, setting off a covert scramble to evacuate those at risk. To manage the fallout, the UK government quietly committed £7 billion to a 5-year resettlement program. However, the entire episode was concealed from public view for 683 days, the longest and broadest of its kind, prompting one judge to warn of a scrutiny vacuum. Even Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was reportedly kept in the dark until after assuming office. Thousands of Afghans on the list have since been relocated to Britain and are living in temporary accommodation. The government has defended its secrecy as vital to preventing Taliban exploitation, but critics argue that the public's right to know was sidelined in one of the gravest security failures in recent history.